We welcome you from Bart Kaufman Field in Bloomington, Indiana, as two well-rested in-state rivals get ready to kick off a 3-game weekend series. It's the 10th-ranked Indiana Hoosiers and the Purdue Boilermakers right here on BTN+. Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. David Sugarman alongside Ben Ladner. This game was originally meant to be a 6:05 first pitch, but here we are just past 3:30 due to some impending weather, and that's had effect really all season long in this week in particular. For more on that, let's introduce the third member of our crew, sideline reporter Courtney Robb.
Thanks, guys. Both of these teams have had plenty of their issues with the weather this season. Both have had plenty of games either canceled or rescheduled. Today's game, absolutely no exception to that. And some people don't know that weather actually has a lot more impact on baseball than they might originally think. Air temperature can affect pitcher's grip as well as ball trajectory. Air density can affect how far the ball travels. Not to mention you have some of the obvious things. Clouds are gonna, block the visibility of the ball. Not to mention wind direction sort of speaks for itself. So instead, if your team isn't playing as well as maybe you like them to, don't blame the players, blame the weather. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Courtney, and she makes a lot of good points right there. Both these teams had all of their midweek games canceled. Purdue was meant to play a 2-game series with Oakland. They did not, and Indiana was meant to play Ball State. That didn't happen as well. All things considered, seems like a good idea to move the game up a few hours. We got partly cloudy, but 50 degrees and just a little bit of wind. But for now, no rain, most importantly.
Yeah, I think we're going to avoid the worst of the weather today. And right now the wind blowing kind of strongly out towards the right field side, but if a ball gets high up in the air, we could see some effect there as far as which direction the wind pulls it. But all in all, a fairly nice day for baseball.
Leading off for the Boilermakers, it's number 5, Harry Shipley, who takes strike one. And on the mound today for Indiana is the junior, Jonathan Stever.
Yeah, and Stever's been really good this season. A 3.32 ERA, 3-1 win-loss record. Got 48 strikeouts to just 9 walks, so having a really solid season and induces a ground ball here on the first pitch.
Walker, a nice play over on short, but could not make the throw, and Shipley gets there in time. 1 up and 1 on the bag for the Boilermakers. Purdue looking to do something they have never done. They are 0-8 all-time here at Bart Kaufman Field. Granted, not all of those contests against Indiana. 0-6 against the Hoosiers, and they lost a pair of games last year in the Big Ten tournament when Indiana hosted.
Yeah, and that last play, that's where you see the advantage of having a really quick leadoff hitter. He hit that ball, kept it in the infield, but given the range that the shortstop had to cover and the momentum of his body carrying him towards the third base side, had to pivot back across the field with a speedy leadoff hitter like Shipley. That's a really tough play to make, and we saw him just use his speed to beat that play out.
Now it's Skylar Hunter. He's got a 1-0 count right now. The 1-0 toss misses inside, and Fineman gets up, and they're actually going to call that a strike. Home plate umpire Don Umland. Around the diamond is John Sapphire at first, David Ewell at second, and on third is Keith Schartzer. The 1-1 for Hunter shows bunt and pulls back. 2 balls and 1 strike as we take you around the diamond defensively for Indiana. Behind the plate is Ryan Fineman. First base side, Scott Bradley. Matt Lloyd covering second. Shortstop is Justin Walker. Third, Cole Barr. And left to right in the outfield, Matt Gorski, Logan Kalitha, and Logan Sowers.
Yeah, it looks like Purdue just trying to move Shipley on to second, play some small ball here. He's going to actually put on the hit and run.
And it's lofted and takes a bounce into the glove of Lloyd, who gets the first out of the inning, but they are able to advance the runner, so not a bad at-bat there for Hunter.
Yeah, great job by Hunter. He did his job. That was his purpose all along. They were really just trying to move that runner along to second, get him in scoring position. We mentioned the speed of Shipley. We saw it in that first at-bat, and you get a guy like him in scoring possession now with a chance to score even on a base hit, could bring him around to score, and a nice job by Hunter. Good piece of hitting there on the hit and run.
Purdue coming in winners of 5 in a row, 14-10 overall. Much improved over the last couple of seasons, and they've really shown some fortitude this season in particular as Mcgowan goes ahead and takes strike one. Before this 5-game winning streak, they had lost 7 in a row, including a pretty embarrassing 15-1 loss at St. Louis.
Yeah, hard times for Purdue here these last couple of years. They are on the upswing. A disastrous season 2 seasons ago prompted a head coaching change, and now Purdue's got sort of back on the right track, but still they're not, I think, as complete or as talented a program top to bottom as Indiana is right now, and we see that reflected in the rankings, we see that reflected in the standings, and just in the overall quality of play. You mentioned how Purdue can be a little bit streakier of a team. Meanwhile, Indiana's been pretty consistent all season long.
Count 1-1 on Jackson Mcgowan, who is hitting .337 so far this season. Count now 1-2. Mcgowan played well in the Penn State series, 1 for 3 and 2 RBIs his last time out.
Stever's done a nice job mixing pitches this at bat. He started the hitter off with a breaking ball on the first pitch, and then that last one, a fastball kind of on the lower outside corner, able to really keep him off balance.
Bounces off the plate over to the mound, and the toss to the first base side for Bradley, but again advances the runner. So Shipley able to advance to third base, but Skylar Hunter and Mcgowan both go back to the dugout, and so it's Nick D'Alessandro coming up to the plate next.
Yeah, and if you're Indiana, you'll take that. That runner on third is a lot less dangerous with 2 outs than he is with 1, because he can't score on a sac fly now, and you can kind of play it a little bit more conservatively and only focus on getting the out at first if you're Indiana.
D'Alessandro rips it down the right field line, and it just goes foul. A good piece of hitting there, but not quite able to keep it in play. D'Alessandro having a very solid season, .337 with a .477 on base. He was ranked as the Big Ten's top catcher just a few weeks ago. Plays well on both sides of the ball. He's got an 0-1 count now. The toss, and slithers inside the zone. D'Alessandro didn't particularly agree, has a quick discussion with Dom Unland about it, and now he's behind the count 0-2.
Yeah, a little bit of a generous strike zone so far for Umpman behind the plate. And, you know, Indiana will take it. And if you're Purdue, you're just hoping that stays consistent in the bottom half of this inning.
Stever gets the signal from Fineman. The glance towards third. And that is going to be the third out. So Stever, after letting a leadoff single on the board, goes 1-2-3 following that. And we head to the bottom of the first frame with no runs on the board here from Bloomington. We welcome you back to Bart Kaufman Field here on BTN Plus. Getting ready to start the bottom of the first frame. David Shrugman, Ben Ladner, and Courtney Robb. So happy you could join us here on this Friday afternoon, taking the first of a 3-game series between these two in-state rivals. Up first for Indiana coming up is Logan Kalitha, and on the mound for the Purdue Boilermakers is Tanner Andrews, and he's been at Bart Kaufman Field once before. It was not a pleasant day, though. In the Big Ten tournament last May, in a game against Nebraska, Andrews got the starting nod and didn't even make it through an inning, really struggled.
Yeah, but he's had a good season this year. 1.99 ERA. He's only given up 9 earned runs in 7 starts, and unfortunately for him, hasn't gotten a whole lot of run support, only has a 3-3 overall record, and so he's hoping today that he can get a little bit more help from his offense and keep his team in the game on the mound, but really having a fantastic season in his senior season.
Kalitha digs into the righty batter's box. The lead thing is off for Indiana and takes a cold strike 1 down Broadway. Around the diamond for the Boilermakers. Behind the plate, it is Nick D'Alessandro. On first base, it's Jackson Mcgowan. Over on second, it's Tyler Powers as a swing and a miss from Kalitha makes it 0-2. Shipley on short, Evan Warden covering third, and left to right in the outfield, Milo Beam, Skylar Hunter, and Alec Olin. The 0-2 delivery misses low and outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Kalitha. Kalitha hitting just below 300 so far on the season as that misses high and evens up the count at 2-2. Junior college transfer from John A. Logan College. The 2-2 delivery. And that's put down the right field line and falls foul. Count remains at 2-2.
Yeah, nice defensive swing there by Kalitha. That one was just on the outside corner, maybe a little off the corner, but when it's that close and you've got a 2-2 count, able to battle it off, keep it foul, and gets another pitch.
Misses outside, does Andrews, and that makes it a full count. Here comes the 7th pitch of the at-bat here. Tanner Andrews tries to correct the sins of old in that game against Nebraska last May. In just 1 inning of work, as Kalitha fouls that one off. 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks in just 6 batters faced. Purdue would end up losing that game 15-9. Full count for Kalitha. The delivery and popped foul down the third base side. And we'll try it once more. And this is a very long at bat, right off the bat, if you will, for Logan Kalitha.
Yeah, this is what Kalitha does. I mean, you mentioned he's hitting a shade under 300, but actually gets on base 45% of his at bat. So he's going to make you work for it. Really going to battle up there at the plate.
That one, a bullet down the third base line, and it's fumbled over there by Evan Warden. And because of that, Kalitha able to get on first base, likely going to be an E5 over there on the third base side. So both teams get their leadoff man on base.
And Indiana hoping to do a little bit more with that than Purdue did in the top of the inning. Matt Lloyd. We'll see if Indiana employs a little bit of a similar strategy with him as Purdue did in the top of the inning, just trying to move that runner over to second, or maybe they just let Lloyd hit away and try to get on base himself and hope that Kalitha can move around the bases kind of on his own accord.
And that does officially go down as an E5 over there on the third base side as Lloyd digs in and watches the first pitch miss low for ball 1. Andrews certainly confident in his fastball. It can touch as high as 97. That's where the gun read on opening day, and wasn't really shy about it. Said in a radio interview earlier this week, he says, I'm going to give you my fastball, and then if someone proves they can hit it, that's when they go to the changeup. So certainly confident, and that's what you want out of your starting pitcher, though.
Yeah, a guy who trusts kind of his main pitches. A lot of the times you'll see pitchers, if they don't really feel confident in any of their pitches, they'll go to kind of their second, third, fourth options, pitches that they really don't have a whole lot of command over, and they'll end up making a lot of mistakes with those. And so a guy that kind of knows what he's about and isn't willing to, or doesn't necessarily have to hide it, certainly you love to see the confidence up on the mound.
Wave and a miss there by Lloyd. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And Lloyd, another guy hitting for a pretty solid average this season, 305. Actually, one of the top run producers on this Indiana team, despite hitting out of the 2 spot. 3rd in the Big Ten in doubles with 10, and so he's having a really good season, kind of hitting second in this order behind Logan Kalitha.
The 1-2 delivery for Lloyd, missing outside, and Lloyd, another one of those guys like Kalitha who stands on first right now, who didn't necessarily take that traditional route. We mentioned Kalitha transferred from a junior college, and Matt Lloyd coming from Iowa Western Community College, and just goes to show how much talent there is. But all of these different types of talent take different paths to get to this point.
That's right, and I think you see it especially in baseball more so than other Division I sports, where you can kind of take the circuitous path and still end up having a really solid college career, as Lloyd swings and misses there for the K. But you see a lot of big-time college baseball players kind of take the junior college route or the community college route, or maybe they start at a D2 school or a D3 school or maybe a small-time D1 and work their way up into kind of these bigger programs in the nation. And certainly you see a lot of players have success with that, and you don't necessarily see that as much in basketball or football. Those are the guys that come right in and make a difference in their first year or so. But in baseball, you really do have time to kind of stretch your career out and let it unfold.
1 away with a man on first as Luke Miller now steps up to the plate, and Andrews misses low and outside, ball 1.
And Kalitha doing a really nice job on first base right now, taking a secondary lead, I think, putting a lot of pressure on pitcher and catcher for Purdue. After that pitch is released, he'll break like he's going to second and then cut it back and take a really strong secondary lead.
Right over the head of Andrews, and that's going to be one of the less fortuitous double plays of the day for Indiana, falling right into the glove of Tyler Powers, who then tosses it right to Mcgowan on first. And that'll bring the inning to a very speedy close as we head to the top of the second. Still no score here from Bloomington. Back at Bart Kaufman Field, David Sugarman, Ben Ladner, and Courtney Robb. No score yet through the first two innings. It's early on, but both pitchers have been very strong so far.
That's right, a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel, scoreless through 2 innings. These are the sorts of games that, at least for me, that I really, really love. And both pitchers really hurling gems so far, and both being really efficient and economical in their pitch count. That last one for Purdue, another 1-2-3 inning. Tanner Andrews just being really efficient, mowing through the Indiana order, and Jonathan Stever doing a similar task for Indiana right now and not throwing a lot of pitches. We could see these two starters stay in the ballgame for a really long time.
Leading off things here in the third for the Boilermakers, it's Milo Beam, the left fielder. Beam shows bunt and pulls back as Stever misses for ball 1.
And on the note of that starting pitching, both of these righties hitting the low 90s pretty consistently with those fastballs, and so a lot of velocity out there between home and the pitcher's mound for these batters, and I think we're seeing that have some sort of effect. You get some hard throwers like these two guys. It takes a little bit of time for the hitters to really calibrate and kind of get used to that velocity.
Yeah, Stever certainly has some good gas behind his fastball, and we talked earlier about Andrews. His fastball can touch as high as 97. The 1-1 for Beam, missing high and outside. 2 balls and 1 strike to Milo Beam, hitting .259 so far this season. Didn't get any hits, but got on base twice via walk in his last game against Penn State, as a big wave and a miss evens the count at 2-2.
Yeah, and it looks like Fineman took that one off the mask. I don't know if it was tipped just slightly by Beam and maybe ricocheted off the glove of Fineman and into the mask, or if he just didn't get a good read on it and it went straight into the face. But he appears to be all right. You hope that he's not too shaken up behind the plate there.
Fineman sets back up in his office behind the plate, and Stever, the 2-2 toss. Missing low, and the count is full. 1 hit so far for Purdue, none for Indiana. Indiana had 1 base runner get on via an error. The 3-2 delivery. And a looking strikeout there on Milo Beam. Jonathan Stever sends him back to the dugout. And that is Stever's first strikeout of the game.
Yeah, and the Purdue hitters right now are not too happy with home plate umpire Dom Umland. That's the second time we've seen them kind of give an incredulous look to the home plate umpire after a strikeout. He is being generous with that strike zone. It is fairly large, maybe expands a little bit off the edges of the plate. But
Walker picks up a bouncing ball over on short. The toss across the diamond to Bradley for the out. A nice play over there on shortstop by Justin Walker. We've seen him be busy here through the first couple of innings.
Yeah, a couple ground balls. He was not able to get to the first one in time. That was to leadoff hitter Harry Shipley. But the last 2 he's handled, one was a perfect Sunday hop moving toward first base. That one made a nice backhanded grab and was able to move it on to first in time to get the out.
Back to the top of the order with Harry Shipley. He has the 1 Purdue hit, a leadoff single.
And that was the one we were mentioning, the one out to the short, and just the speed of Shipley and the direction that ball pulled the shortstop and the long throw that he had to make was just enough for Shipley to get there. He is a fast guy and looking to get on base for the second time here.
Swing and a miss makes the count 1-1, and he's moved back and forth from that leadoff spot, but when he's been there, he's been very good. Since moving a little bit more permanently to the leadoff position, 9 for 22 and a .500 on-base percentage as Stever misses outside.
Yeah, and for some players, kind of that movement within the order can have an effect on their productivity. We see it in Major League Baseball all the time where maybe they start out the season hitting in one spot in the order and just aren't doing so well. They move down to maybe the lower half and still struggle. The manager moves them back up to the top of the order, and all of a sudden things are clicking for them. There's a sort of a mystical effect that sort of thing can have on a lineup. And so we're seeing that with Shipley, just his ability to be effective from the leadoff spot, maybe a little bit of a mental reset for him after moving around in the order a little bit.
The 2-2 is fouled off, so the count remains that 2-2 with 2 outs. The base paths are currently naked, as is the scoreboard. 0-0 here in the top of the third frame, as Shipley tries to work a little bit magic, or you called it mystical.
That's right, the mystical effect.
And a nice play in the field over there on third. Darted over towards first. Nice play there by Cole Barr on third. 3 up and 3 down in back-to-back innings as we head to the bottom of the third. Still no score. 0-0. You're watching college baseball on BTN+.
Your section wins the race, representing the first baseman.
We welcome you back to Bart Kaufman Field. No score yet between the Indiana Hoosiers and their Purdue Boilermakers. Bottom of the third, just a few moments away from getting going. David Sugarman alongside Ben Ladner. Ben, the pitching continues to be stellar so far through the first few frames of the game.
That's right. Both Tanner Andrews and Jonathan Stever have been really, really fun to watch so far, both on their games right now, really spinning gems. And we talked about the velocity of both their fastballs. We've seen Stever kind of mix up his pitches and be effective changing speeds. Right now, Andrews just having success blowing his fastball by these Indiana hitters. That one coming in at 90, but you mentioned he can get up in the mid to high 90s with that fastball. And coming in with a sub-2 ERA, he's moved that down through the first 2+ innings here. And just a whole lot of fun to watch. Two pitchers really on their game at the top of their craft.
Bradley fouls that one off, so the count is 1-1. Indiana still in search of their first hit. They got one base runner on, their leadoff man, Logan Kalitha, after an E5 courtesy of Evan Warden. And they've had a few well-ridden balls, particularly the wind has taken a few well-hit balls out towards right field as Bradley fouls that one off.
Yeah, and you know, in a lot of orders, batting orders, you see it kind of get less and less dangerous as you move towards the bottom of the order. Not so for Indiana. Their 4, 5, and 6 hitters go 326, 342, 337, and then 7th here with Scotty Bradley, 385.
Rope down the third base line is Bradley. He's going for 2, and he's going to get it sliding in as the helmet flies off. A double for Scotty Bradley for the first hit of the game for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, just a continuation of a fantastic season for Scotty Bradley, now making his 14th start, hitting 385 on the season. That now his 11th hit, has 6 RBI, slugging 654. Really potent, and to have that kind of power and that kind of productivity out of the 7 spot in your order is just really rare. And now Cole Barr looking to drive in the run and hopefully get Indiana on the board first here.
Jess Bradley's second double so far this season. Played well in the series against Indiana's last time out, went 2 for 2 as the bunt is shown and goes foul off the bat of Cole Barr.
It looks like Indiana themselves wants to play some small ball here and move that runner on to third. They'll sacrifice the out to move the runner closer to home, and Cole Barr, a good guy to do it, plays sparingly, hitting 400 on the season, but really has only played 4 games, and today sort of acting as a defensive substitute for Luke Miller, who's usually the starting third baseman. Miller DHing today, and so you see Barr get the start defensively and hitting in the 8th spot in the order. In a big spot here, a chance to really help out the team in just his 5th game.
The 0-1 for Barr shows bunt again, puts it down. It's a good one, and it's going to do the job, advancing the runner. You mentioned it. Just move that runner in scoring position over to third with just 1 away. A nice job laying that bunt down softly, forcing Andrews to come off the mound.
Yeah, not just Andrews coming off the mound, but the third baseman, Evan Warden, forcing him to come towards home as well, leaving third base wide open. No possible way for Purdue to get the out at third, getting it down that third base line, forcing everyone to converge. And the only play that Purdue could realistically make was at first, and now Indiana just 90 feet from the first run of the game.
It's the bottom of the order with Justin Walker right now, the freshman shortstop. He's made a couple nice plays in the field so far. Andrews fakes the throw back towards third. Walker hitting just a shade over 200 so far this season at 207. Does have a connection with the in-state rival as his father, Chris Walker, a Purdue alum, played for the Boilermakers from 97 to 2000, as you watch as the first pitch sail by for strike one.
Yeah, and Walker, you mentioned kind of a low average on the season, not the most effective hitter. Obviously a great defensive shortstop, but a chance here he could really come through big with a big hit here.
The 0-1, big wave and a miss. Nice change up there. Dove right at the plate to make the count 0-2. No balls and 2 strikes to Justin Walker with a man on third. Just one away for Indiana, looking to break this scoreless tie here in the bottom of the third. The 0-2 fouled off just off the end of the bat. Walker able to keep that bat alive.
And a strikeout here would be really big for Purdue. You can keep that runner on third, still get the out, and then go back to the top of the order with 2 outs. Against Kalitha, you can kind of be a little bit more aggressive with him, not have to worry as much about the runner on third with those 2 outs. So if you're Justin Walker, just try to put the ball in play, even if it doesn't produce a run, even if it doesn't produce a hit. Put the ball in play, put pressure on the defense, make them get the out at first, make them get you out rather than just surrender it with a strikeout.
Walker settles back in after a new ball's thrown out to the mound. The 0-2, it's popped up towards the mound, off the bounce, and thrown to first for the out, but that does bring in the first run of the game. Scotty Bradley, who started things off with a leadoff double, gets home, gets the third on the bunt from Cole Barr, and then another nice piece of hitting. Andrews played it safe to make the play at first, and that got Scotty Bradley home.
It doesn't necessarily take a hit to drive in the run, doesn't even necessarily take a hard hit ball to drive in the run. Walker got just enough of that one to send it high in the air, and again, Purdue with no other play but to go to first, and a solid piece of hitting. We're seeing, especially with these pitchers being as sharp as they've been today, I think runs are really going to be at a premium in this ball game, and both teams, I think, realize that and are playing a little bit more conservatively, playing some small ball, as it were, to bring in those runs.
Back to the leadoff spot with Logan Kalitha. He falls behind quickly, 0-2. Kalitha did get on base his first time up off of an E5, rips this into right field, and it goes foul. Indiana leading 1-0 here in the bottom of the third, getting on the board first as Andrews misses low and outside. Count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. Indiana looking for their 10th straight home win, their 5th straight win overall, looking to win their 7th in a row against Purdue here in Bloomington. As Kalitha, big swing and a miss, but D'Alessandro will have to make the throw to first on the drop, and he does. So Kalitha goes down, but Indiana gets on the board via a Scotty Bradley run, Justin Walker RBI. When we come back, it's the 4th inning, and Indiana leads by a penny.
Saturday, April 14th is our annual IU football Crimson Spring Game. Join us.
Indiana able to find themselves on the board. Scotty Bradley comes home in the bottom of the third after a nice piece of hitting there by Justin Walker, and just methodical hitting overall once Bradley got on base with a double.
Yeah, Indiana able to bunt the runner over from second to third, and then Walker at the plate, only hitting .207 on the season, but was still able to get the job done. Again, you don't necessarily have to hit the ball hard. You just have to hit it in the right place. That's what Walker did, and he gave Purdue no choice but to go to first base and concede the run.
Skylar Hunter leading things off here in the 4th for Purdue, and as he fouls the first one off. The 0-1 for Hunter misses outside. Stever playing well through the first few innings, just giving up the 1 hit. As again, it's fouled off by Hunter.
Yeah, we mentioned how good both these pitchers have been ever since that leadoff single by Shipley for Purdue. Stever has retired 9 consecutive batters and hoping for a 10th here with a 1-2 count.
The 1-2 sling, it bounced over the head. No, he able to get a glove on it, but Stever wisely tries not to not make the throw from his behind. It would have been a very nifty play, but also could have been a costly one. You don't like to give that up, but probably the right move there by Stever. Live to fight another day.
Yeah, and I think that's one where if you're Stever, as tempting as it may be to climb the ladder and grab that ball, I think that's one where you just let it go and let the shortstop Walker get to it. It's a much easier play for him coming in on the ball and able to set his feet, be on balance to make the throw to first. Stever had just delivered the pitch and was kind of popping up from, I guess, the lean forward that follows a pitch home and didn't really have his feet set, wasn't able to jump as high as maybe he could just from a standstill. And he got the glove on the ball but wasn't able to grasp it all the way. And I think he just let Walker come on and get that one. I think Stever knows that one as well. We saw him acknowledge that maybe after the play that that's one where Walker has a better angle on it and is able to make the play a little bit more easily.
The first pitch on Mcgowan misses low for ball one. Mcgowan, a guy who's flexed a lot more power this season than he did a season ago. He has 8 home runs that already matched his 2017 total. He hit that 8th homer in the second game of the Penn State series. The sweep of Penn State for Purdue. Stever glances over at first. Short lead for Hunter. And fumbles is Fineman, but he comes up on it quickly. 2 balls and 1 strike to Mcgowan. And speaking of Penn State, we talked about the weather earlier. Penn State and Minnesota are not playing in Pennsylvania or Minnesota this weekend. They're actually playing at Alexander Field, home of the Purdue Boilermakers. The Minnesota Golden Gophers, because naturally it's so cold, Mcgowan sends it out to right. It's going back out towards the wall. Bye-bye. Mcgowan gets Purdue on the board and gives the Boilermakers their first lead of the game. Mcgowan with a 2-run shot. We mentioned he already matched his home run total from a season ago. Now he's got more home runs than he had a season ago. His 9th long ball of the year.
And Mcgowan got all of that one to the opposite field, no less. The right-handed batter sending that one to deep right field. There was no doubt about it. I think it eventually landed near the 408 sign out behind the right field fence. So he really put a charge into that one and gives Purdue the lead. We mentioned that Stever had set down a few batters in a row, gives up the error, and then the ensuing home run. So maybe the tide turning a little bit for Purdue here with 2 runs in the inning and still nobody out.
D'Alessandro fouls that one off. So a beautiful piece of hitting there by Mcgowan, making it Purdue 2, Indiana 1. No outs here in the top of the 4th frame, but a 0-2 count on Nick D'Alessandro. And going back to the earlier point we were trying to make before Mcgowan so rudely cut us off with that home run, as that's fouled down the third base side. So Penn State and Minnesota are playing their most recent series in Purdue. Minnesota had been playing their home games, their first 13, in US Bank Stadium. If that's unfamiliar to the baseball fans, it's because that's where the Minnesota Vikings play. Because it is so cold in Minnesota, it was still going to be too cold and too tough of weather to play there. And since Purdue is on the road, they offered up their facilities to Minnesota. Really great job by Purdue, and it's going to be free baseball there. So if you're in West Lafayette watching this one, and then maybe tomorrow want to go catch Minnesota Penn State, some live baseball, it's free.
Yeah, and weather has been a real challenge, not just for Minnesota, as there's a ground ball to short, but for the entire Big Ten. I mean, it's a largely Midwest-based conference, and even the teams that aren't in the Midwest, like a Penn State, kind of out in the Northeast. And so temperatures have remained cold into April here somehow. And, we've seen some Indiana games be canceled or postponed, or in today's case, moved up earlier in the day because of weather. It just remains cold kind of deep into the spring here. And baseball season's going to run into the summer, and eventually it'll warm up, and home fields will be more accessible to more of these teams. But it has been very bizarre to see kind of the role that weather has played for a lot of these teams. And even today, the game was moved up to avoid the low temperatures, but still fans wearing jackets, blankets in the stands. It's still pretty chilly out there, even with this moved up start.
2-0 count on Evan Kennedy, the designated hitter for Purdue in today's contest. So Spring has hardly sprung here in the Big Ten, particularly, like you mentioned, most of these teams in the Midwest. Indiana has had 3 games canceled due to rain. Purdue has had 6 games canceled overall, three of those due to rain. It's 2 balls and 1 strike on Kennedy. Purdue actually had tornado warnings earlier in the week. They were supposed to play a 2-game midweek series against Oakland, but didn't get the chance to play either of those games. And now Stever, who just gave up the home run a couple batters ago, is in a bit of a jam with Kennedy, a 3-1 count. The 3-1 toss, swung on and missed. And again, Fineman looked like it may have hit him in the mask, and the mask fell off, but he seems to be okay. Taking a bit of beating today behind the plate. Nonetheless, the count is full.
Yeah, that one not an easy one to take either. 92 on that fastball for Stever. His velocity is looking pretty sharp today. He's been really good with the exception of that home run, obviously, but hoping to get through this inning, only giving up the 2 runs, and a payoff pitch here is going to be really big.
The 3-2 again fouled off, so we'll reset it again. 3-2 count. Worth noting that Stever, his last start was last Friday against Butler. That was another cold, windy, not great day, and he played well, went 6 innings and gave up just 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, and didn't walk a single batter. So Stever not completely new to these pitching in these conditions recently, as he puts another K on the board, a big pair of back-to-back outs there for Indiana and Jonathan Stever.
And again, Stever just continues to have his way with the bottom of this Purdue order. And Kennedy, a tough season for him. It's rare that you see a guy with a sub-200 average hitting in the DH spot. Only 5 RBI on the season, hasn't really been all too effective offensively, and yet in there, presumably exclusively for his hitting, unfortunately for him, hasn't been able to be as effective as he'd want.
Olin lofts it out towards deep right center. It's going to take a bounce and go off the wall. Sowers picks it up and throws it in, but it's going to be a stand-up double for Olin. So Purdue has started to break the game open just a little bit, starting to get the bats alive, and there's a pulse in this Purdue offense.
There is, and sometimes the second time through the order can open things up for a team. Stever really able to do whatever he wanted to this Purdue order the first time, and now that they see him again, they're getting a second look at him. Maybe that change of pace that Stever likes to do, kind of the mixing up of pitches, doesn't catch these Purdue Boilermakers quite as off guard as it did the first time. They can get a little bit better a read on him.
And again, that one a little bit closer to center, but still more right center. And we haven't seen anything significant really hit out towards deep left field. We've seen some balls that have been taken for a couple of good rides down the line, but they've all been towards right.
Yeah, I think some of that is hitters going the opposite way, but I think the wind has to be playing some sort of role in that, with these balls really carrying out to that right side.
Warden, a bouncing ball coming up on it is Lloyd, the toss for first, and that is the 3rd out of the inning. But the Boilermakers get a couple runs up on the board, courtesy of a 2-run shot from Jackson Mcgowan, as we head to the bottom of the 4th inning. Purdue doubling up Indiana in a small sense. They score 2-1 as we take a break here on BTN+.
Broadcast of every game. Follow along with the radio voice of the Hoosiers, Greg Murray, as well as the play.
We welcome you back to Bart Kaufman Field. Purdue puts 2 runs on the board in the top of the 4th inning and takes a 2-1 lead on the Indiana Hoosiers. David Sugarman, Ben Ladner, and Courtney Robb back at it here in Bloomington. This is the first of a 3-game series. We'll have each game Friday, Saturday, Sunday right here on BTN+, as Andrews comes out for his 4th inning of work. Matt Lloyd takes a good swing at it and fouls it back off of the net. Makes the count in 0-1. Lloyd was Andrews' first strikeout victim. Andrews been playing well. Struck out 3 batters so far today and given up just 1 hit so far. Count now 1-1. Lloyd digs back in, the 1-1 toss, swing, and may have tipped that one, but it's going to fall into the glove of of D'Alessandro, and the count is 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, it looked like maybe a little bit of a half-hearted swing by Lloyd there. Maybe he didn't mean to go all the way around.
Andrews misses on the outside corner, and the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tanner Andrews, 6'3", 220 pounds, from Rochester, Indiana, and playing well this season, making his 8th start as he racks up another strikeout, make it 4, throw on the golden sombrero so far for Tanner Andrews in just the 4th inning.
Yeah, and changed speeds that time, went down to 82 with the off-speed pitch, and for a guy who throws as many fastballs as Andrews does and throws his fastball as hard as Andrews does, to see that change of speed can be really, really off-putting for a hitter, and it keeps them off balance. And you mentioned how Andrews really likes to attack with his fastball. Makes it even more rare that he does go to the off-speed pitch, so when he does it, it can really have a positive effect for him.
Luke Miller up next for Indiana, roped down the third base side, and it's going to stay fair. Miller should have a chance for 2. It's going to be a stand-up double for Luke Miller.
And Miller really put a nice swing on that one, as you see him with the celebration at second base there. We'll take another look at it. Yeah, just turned on that one, was able to take the inside pitch and swing it right back out into left field. Just barely stayed fair, and those balls right down along the line. It's a long run for the left fielder to get to that one. Actually ended up hitting the wall in foul territory, and a really easy double for Luke Miller there. He was able to cruise in without much problem.
Second double of the day for Indiana. Scotty Bradley, who ended up coming home for Indiana's first run back in the 3rd, had a stand-up double, and now Miller has one of his own as he tries to get his buddy Logan Sowers to help him out at the plate, wave and a miss on the first pitch.
Andrew started Sowers with the breaking ball that time, which he's not done very often today. Usually it is that fastball. So a nice breaking the ball there at 81 to get Sowers to swing.
The darting glance towards second, another look, and now Sowers puts down the first base side, picked up by Mcgowan, who steps on first base, but it does advance the runner, so 2 away, but the tying run just 90 feet away right now. Luke Miller, hands on his hips, patiently waiting, hoping Matt Gorski can advance him one more time.
And another solid piece of situational hitting by Indiana. They needed to move that runner to third base. So what do? You hit it to the first base side and force Purdue into only one play. The easiest one was to take it to first. They weren't going to get the out at third. And now, like you said, just 90 feet away, Indiana can tie this game.
It's actually Ryan Fineman who's coming to the plate right now. Fineman, who struck out his first time up. Indiana trailing 2-1, 2 away on the board. His first pitch missing low and outside on Fineman. Fineman, who playing very well as of late. His last 5 games, 10 for 18 and 8 RBIs. That's after coming off a really tough stretch to those first 7 home games. After coming back from San Diego, he was just 2 for 21. Has certainly turned things around and really retooled that swing over the offseason. He had thumb surgery, and so was just sort of sitting around watching film and has very much retooled his swing. You see there, he's very straight up and down, whereas last year, much more bent at the knees. Tried modeling his swing after Cody Bellinger, and the Dodger star might have been proud of that one, but it just couldn't drop. Fineman into the glove of right fielder Alec Olin, and that brings us to the end of the 4th inning. Indiana trailing Purdue 2-1 here. You're watching college baseball on BTN+.
Open your Citizen Guard app and check in today's baseball game. The points you earn this season.
Milo Beam, the leadoff man to start the 5th inning. Purdue nursing a 1-run lead, 2-1. The Boilermakers leading their in-state rivals, the Indiana Hoosiers, as Beam shows bunt, but it will fall outside for ball 1. David Sugarman, Ben Ladner, and Courtney Robb. So happy you could join us here on a Friday afternoon, taking some Big Ten baseball, and it's been one of those low-scoring metronome-style games. Back and forth they've gone, some good pitching, and a couple of good pieces of hitting, particularly with some power.
Yeah, no scoring till the 3rd inning, but a home run by Purdue in the 4th gave them the lead after Indiana played some small ball to get that first run home. But we've seen a couple doubles from IU, and Luke Miller put a charge in one last inning. Ryan Fineman put a good swing on one to close the inning. It couldn't drop for him. But I think you're seeing these batting orders start to figure out the opposing starting pitcher a little bit. And maybe we don't see any more offense. Maybe the pitchers make adjustments and they're able to kind of deal with the hitters in the way that they were the first 2 innings and the first time around, as Stever certainly does that time.
Beam goes down looking. It's the 3rd strikeout so far for Stever. Neither pitcher has been particularly heavy on strikeouts. 3 for Stever, 4 for Andrews, but both overall getting the job done. It's really just been the one big hit given up, the 2-run shot by Stever that has hurt Indiana today. Is now up next is Tyler Powers.
Yeah, Stever's only given up 4 hits so far. One of them happened to be that home run, and the other one, a tough play that Stever tried to make right before it that put the runner on base.
And the bunt is put down, and Powers ends up getting thrown out over on first.
Yeah, and a tough play for Powers. He might have had that one beaten out before he stumbled and fell on his way over to first, and you could hear the audible groan from the crowd. I think they realized, too, that that was a beautifully placed bunt. Had the perfect velocity, perfect movement down the third base line. For a guy like Powers, might have been able to beat that one out, and certainly disappointing to literally go crashing to the ground on your way to first for the out.
And it's those types of plays. I know Purdue's winning right now as Shipley goes ahead and takes strike 1. It's those types of plays, though, in these low-scoring games where one guy on base, one base runner could make the difference late. That really hurts as Shipley goes ahead and takes strike 2.
Yeah, it does, and especially, like I said, when you have the chance to really get a hit off of that play. I mean, it looked like Powers was well on his way to an infield base hit. If he does get that hit, that's the type of play that can swing the game as well. Maybe that galvanizes Purdue's offense and allows them to get some insurance.
Fineman with the throw over to first for the insurance, but it is another strikeout. Go ahead and ring up strikeout number 4 for Jonathan Stever. 3 up and 3 down as we head to the bottom of the 5th inning. Indiana trailing by 1. Purdue 2, Indiana 1. You're watching college baseball on BTN+. Bottom 5 from Bloomington. David Sugarman, Ben Ladner, and Courtney Robb here for BTN+. Matt Gorski, the leadoff man for Indiana here in the bottom of the 5th, takes ball 1. Indiana trailing 2-1 right now as another pitch comes right for Gorski, and he has to duck out of the way, so 2 balls and no strikes. A good start right off the bat for Matt Gorski.
We saw Tanner Andrews start a couple batters last inning with some breaking balls and off-speed pitches. This time comes right at Gorski with 2 fastballs and maybe a little bit overzealous on those first 2 pitches, as well out of the strike zone were his first 2 offerings, able to kind of get back on track here with these last couple pitches.
Certainly a hitter's count right now, 3 balls and 1 strike, but Andrews has played well, and we've seen him go deeper into his bag than he let on. He was saying in an interview earlier in the week that he really only goes to his off-speed stuff as a fastball high up in the zone gets Gorski to bite when he thinks that people have figured out his fastball. Even when the fastball was still working, he went deeper into his bag early in this game.
Yeah, and you wouldn't expect to hear those comments from someone who, like I mentioned, has started out at bats with some off-speed pitches. He's had success with it, and when you've got the fastball like he does, that kind of velocity, I mean, why not go to it as much as you can?
And it's been a well-played game on the mound for both teams. That is the first walk thrown by either pitcher today. We are in the bottom of the 5th inning right now. The only big mistake either pitcher has really made is the 2-run homer given up to Jackson Mcgowan back in the 3rd by Stever as a darting throw back towards first. Gorski able to get back in time, and Scotty Bradley is back up at the dish.
And I think your point about the walks, that speaks to the command and the efficiency with which these pitchers have worked today. I mean, they've been really economical in their pitch count. And when you're not walking guys, you're not wasting a lot of pitches and driving up that pitch count. They've been able to keep the ball in the zone, still be effective to mix around locations and mix around speeds, and it's led to fairly low pitch counts for both of these pitchers.
Indiana trails 2-1 right now with a man on first and nobody out, as again Andrews wants to keep Gorski an honest soldier there over on first base. Matt Gorski has been particularly excellent at thieving on the base paths this year, 10 for 11 when he's tried to steal the base so far this season.
And Gorski, one of the best all-around players on this Indiana team. He's got some power, only 1 home run in the season, but still hits the ball hard, and that results in a lot of doubles, a lot of just hard-hit singles. Like you mentioned, his success stealing bases. He was hitting .337 coming into this game, gets on base a lot. Chris Lemonis was talking about him as one of the best all-around complete baseball players on this team.
We mentioned the Justin Walker, Chris Walker connection with Purdue earlier, son of a former Purdue player, is Indiana's shortstop. And Matt Gorski was actually high school teammates with Purdue's Andrew Baum back at Hamilton Southeastern High School in Fishers, Indiana. We haven't seen Baum yet today. Baum, a pitcher who likely won't make an appearance, but we may see him in the latter stages of today. As now Bradley has 3 balls and no strikes and make it now a 4-pitch walk. So we talked about that command and how good it's been, and just like that, Andrews walks back-to-back batters to lead off the inning. This is a crucial opportunity for Indiana, who's only been able to bring across 1 run so far through the first 4 innings.
A really good job by both Gorski and Scotty Bradley to work the count, be patient at the plate, and right now I think Nick D'Alessandro is pretty frustrated behind the plate. We've seen him turn his head a couple times and have some words for home plate umpire Don Umland. And we've seen the strike zone be a little bit more expansive for Indiana, and D'Alessandro was a victim of some of that wider strike zone earlier on in the game, and I think he feels that Purdue's not quite getting those same calls, and he's definitely let the home plate umpire know about it more than once.
And we've seen Indiana today do a good job of advancing the runners via small ball. Runners on first and second with nobody out. Wonder if they may go back to that again, as Gorski able to get back to second without the aid of the slide.
An interesting strategy there by Purdue on that pickoff. They had the shortstop holding the runner at second and then dart back toward his position, making Gorski feel like there was no one holding him on, and the second baseman darts back over to second. Didn't work that time for the Boilermakers, but fun to see kind of those different strategies that teams employ just to try to gain those slight edges, like a pickoff, like a stolen base coverage, these sorts of little things that can really add up in a tight game like this.
Barr having an extended conversation over on the third base side with his head coach Chris Lemonis. Lemonis in his 4th season with Indiana. As Barr steps back up to the plate. Indiana 0 for 3 so far today with runners in scoring position. They have been able to advance the base runners. Like earlier, Barr was able to bunt Bradley over from second to third. And then following that, there was a ground out that was able to bring Bradley home. And that's exactly what they'll do. Barr with another bunt. Andrews, the look towards third, ended up throwing a bullet towards first. And now Indiana with runners on second and third. So again, Barr with good use of the bunt.
Yeah, second time we've seen Barr lay down a nice bunt to the third base side. Couldn't quite draw the third baseman in as well as he did the first time, but still able to get the job done. And Indiana stranded a couple runners at third base the last few times they've had runners on the base paths. Haven't been able to drive them in since that third inning. And now Justin Walker in another big spot like he was back in the third with a chance to drive in not 1 but 2 runs.
And you saw it looked like Andrews really wanted to throw to third there and get the lead runner, but probably made the right play. But now a great opportunity for Indiana, trailing 2-1. Runners on second and third. Justin Walker has the only RBI of the day so far for Indiana. It was an RBI ground out back in the third frame that brought home Scotty Bradley. Missing inside is Andrews. The count is 2 balls and no strikes. This has easily been Andrews' worst inning so far, starting things off with a walk on Gorski, a 4-pitch walk on Bradley, and then a bunt that ends up advancing both Gorski and Bradley to second and third. The look towards third. Now Andrews fires on Walker, and it's gone foul down the first base line.
And it looks like Walker taking a similar approach to the one that Gorski and Bradley took earlier in the inning, being really patient, letting 2 balls go by, working the count, and then that last pitch felt like he had gotten one to hit and put a good swing on it. But all in all, I think we're seeing Indiana be a little bit more patient at the dish this inning than they have in innings past.
Something has to give today. Purdue looking for their 6th straight win. Indiana looking for their 10th straight home win. And a crucial at-bat right here as Walker will let the pitch sail by, missing outside. D'Alessandro, another extended conversation with home plate umpire Don Umlin. He's been unhappy both in his at-bats and behind the plate. Now it's 3 balls and 1 strike to Justin Walker. Just 1 out on the board. The tying run over on third is Gorski. The 3-1. Lofted out, and a nice play made by the second baseman. That's Tyler Powers, but now Gorski's going to make a play on it. Slides, and he's safe. Matt Gorski comes up emphatic after the slide. A nice play made by Powers, but the throw not quick enough to get there, and we're all knotted up at 2.
Well, Powers just stood out in shallow left field for a few seconds after he'd caught that ball. I think he assumed that his proximity to home plate at the time would prevent ball games, and Indiana right now looking like the better situational hitting team.
Bradley stands on second. He's the only one on the base paths now with 2 away, and we're all squared away at 2-2 right now in the bottom of the 5th. Andrews, the glance towards second, and missing outside on the leadoff man. It's back to the top of the order with Logan Kalitha. Kalitha 0 for 2 so far today, but did get on off of an E5 all the way back in the first. See Bradley taking a short lead off of second. Powers hanging out behind second base and missing high and inside. It's now 2 balls and no strike on Logan Kalitha.
And again, it's been a theme of the inning. Indiana just patient at the plate. They have a sense that Andrews might be unraveling just a little bit, and they're going to force him to deliver strikes before they're able to swing.
The 2-0 just clips the outside corner, and boy, that felt like a big pitch right there for Tanner Andrews. He's been struggling to fall behind 3-0 on a hitter like Logan Kalitha. Wouldn't have done him any favors.
Yeah, I don't think you can necessarily afford that right at this moment, and you've really just got to focus all your energy on that one pitch when you're down 2-0 and battle back to get back in the count.
Another strike there. Nice off-speed stuff coming from Andrews, reaching deeper into his bag of tricks. And the count is 2-2 with 2 outs on the board, a runner in scoring position. Indiana so far is 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position today. Bradley trots back towards second and again takes a short lead off. And now Andrews steps off the mound. Kalitha, who has 4 home runs so far on the season, hitting just below 300. Still looking for his first hit of the afternoon. The look towards second. The 2-2, missing just outside, and now it's a full count. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Huge payoff pitch on the way.
Yeah, D'Alessandro wanted that one. He tried to frame it and bring it back to the outside corner, but I think that one was just a little bit off the plate, and now a massive payoff pitch to try to get out of the inning for Tanner Andrews.
Kalitha puts the bat over his right shoulder and takes a bend at the knees, and well, before any of that, they'll call for time, and D'Alessandro wants to go ahead and talk to his man on the mound, Tanner Andrews, realizing just how big this pitch is. Seen Indiana, the offense, begin to pick up the last couple of innings. In that third, they were able to get it with some small ball, and we've seen in this inning they have the one run. They've been able to get 2 runners on, but no hits yet. 2 walks, and then a bunt, and sort of an odd play where it was a nice play made over on second by Powers, but was a little bit lackadaisical. Gorski came home. That's how we are all level at 2 right now. Andrews collects himself on the mound, now delivers the payoff, and it's the 3rd walk of the inning thrown by Tanner Andrews. So after throwing no walks through the first 4, he's thrown 3 walks here in the last 5 batters in this inning. Now runners on first and second. A big opportunity for Indiana still looms.
And Andrews now up to 74 pitches on the afternoon. He came into this frame in the 50s, the low 50s at that. And really the patience of Indiana and kind of the loss of control a little bit for Andrews has really cost him. And right now, Matt Lloyd with a chance to load the bases or perhaps even drive in a run. And I would bet that he would be really patient here on this first pitch. Maybe even an automatic take. And in fact, he swings and misses. So what do I know?
Throwing all caution to the wind, no patience for Matt Lloyd. Maybe Andrews can feel a bit confident, feeling he's struck out swinging Matt Lloyd twice so far today. He's 0 for 2.
And a little bit surprising given how Andrews has lost his control a little bit. Indiana's been patient this inning, and Lloyd struck out twice. I think you'd expect to see him maybe take that first pitch just out of principle to try to force a little bit more patient approach. But you know, despite all those factors, still goes after the first pitch, able to lay off that second one, which is a little bit high.
Counts 1-1, and you mentioned the pitch count. Short of the 1-4 pitch walk to Bradley, these have all been 6, 7, 8 pitch counts that end up adding up. Like you said, a 20-plus pitch inning right now, as that pitch finds a way to slither into the inside part of the zone. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
A beautiful breaking ball there by Andrews. And one kind of just plopped into the heart of the zone, and Lloyd, I think, was caught a little bit off guard, maybe expecting that fastball, ends up getting the curve, and nothing really he could do but stand and watch.
The 1-2 sling for Lloyd, missing outside. The count even, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Indiana came into this part of the frame trailing 2-1, able to bring the tying run home in Matt Gorski, and now the go-ahead run stands on second. That's number 30 right there, Scotty Bradley. He got brought home for the first run of the day earlier. He had a double and ended up being advanced via some small balls, some bunts, and some sacrifice groundouts. And now it is a full count staring down Matt Lloyd.
And that one was another one that almost had that upper half of the zone. I think Dom Umland ruling that although it landed in the glove of D'Alessandro in the strike zone, it crossed the plate just a little bit high, and now another big spot here for Tanner Andrews as he steps off the mound.
Andrews adjusts the lid and wipes the sweat off his brow, looks to focus in on this another huge payoff pitch. Last one ended up resulting in a walk. Lloyd takes it out foul behind the netting, and we'll try it again.
Yeah, nice defensive swing there by Lloyd with 3-2. Can't afford to take any chances with balls that are close, and if you can, you just got to continue to foul them off, keep the at-bat alive, fight to see another pitch, and hope that you get one that you like.
Andrews collects himself. A deep breath, a look to second, and the payoff. Misses outside, and the bases are loaded via the 4th walk of the inning by Tanner Andrews. Andrews seemingly has lost control this inning, and now Indiana has the bases jammed with Luke Miller coming up to the plate. Miller, who had a big double his last time up.
And also leads this team in home runs with 7. Like you mentioned, that big hit last time. This is not the guy Tanner Andrews wants to see at the plate right now, and I'm really shocked that this inning's unfolded the way it has for a guy that came into this game with a sub-2 ERA and pitched as well as he did through those first 4 innings to kind of see things unravel like they have here in the 5th has been surprising.
Miller takes it out, pops it high down the right field line. It's going foul, and it's going to go out. 0-1, but Miller clearly swinging with a purpose early in this at-bat. Bases are loaded from first to third. It is Matt Lloyd, Logan Kalitha, and Scotty Bradley who have all gotten on base via a walk.
And, despite the walks, despite the jam that Andrews is in right now, despite Luke Miller being at the plate and the way we've talked about things unraveling, he's only given up 1 run this inning, so still a chance for damage control.
Miller, again, a big-time swing that ends up going foul.
This may be the inning that forces Andrews out of the game, and maybe he doesn't return in the 6th inning, but if he can get out of this inning only having given up 1 run, I think that's a big win for Purdue, given the opportunities that Indiana's had in this inning and the threat that they've posed just continually from the first pitch of the frame. To only come away with 1 run for Indiana, if you're Purdue, I think you'll take that given the way that Andrews has really kind of unraveled here and the way he's pitched.
The 2 teams are combined 0 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Indiana looking to change that as Miller goes down looking. A big pitch by Tanner Andrews to keep this game level at 2, picking up his 5th strikeout of the day. A big one there for Andrews, but Indiana does find a way to tie this game up at 2. When we come back, we've got a fun one on our hands, headed into the 6th inning to knot it up at 2 runs apiece. We head into the latter stages of this game. Top of the 7th inning, Indiana 2, Purdue 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Bart Kaufman Field here in Bloomington. David Sugarman, Ben Ladner, Courtney Robb, all on hand here. What's been a fun back-and-forth game right now, all tied up as Alec Olin leads off the inning here for the Boilermakers. He had a double his last time up as he pegs this into right field, but Sowers with a nice play moving back, got spun around a little bit, but able to ballerina his way into the catch.
Yeah, not a textbook form there that time by Sowers, but whatever gets the job done. Didn't have to travel too far to make that play.
We've seen him get turned around a couple of times because of the wind. Looked like in the beginning he might have just misplayed that ball a titch, but nonetheless able to make the play. A very reliable glove out and right, in a big body too, 6'5", 230 pounds, as Evan Warden, the man covering third base today, steps up and takes strike 1, a 91-mile-per-hour fastball that slithers inside the zone. The 0-1 from Stever, a big wave and a miss, and goes to the opposite side of the plate. He went high and inside, then goes low and outside, able to fool Warden into the swing. We've seen the full array of pitches from both of the guys on the rubber today. They've both played extremely well, as this time Warden able to lay down a hit into short center field onto the grass for his first hit of the day.
Yeah, put a good swing on that, Warden did. Just hit it where it was pitched, right up the middle, didn't try to do too much, and a base hit. We haven't seen too many hits into center, really balls hit up in the middle of the diamond today. It's kind of been to one side or the other, and that time able to put a good swing on it and just send it right up the middle.
Milo Beam up next. He digs in to the left side of the batter's box, tries laying down a bunt.
Umland with a nice lefty toss back out to the mound. Didn't peg him as a lefty, but, you know.
Do you peg certain people as
yeah,
lefty
you look at
before
him,
you
think,
see them right
yeah,
or
you think
bat
lefty.
or shoot?
Yeah. Some guys, you know, you're just like, hey, he seems like a lefty personality.
The butt put down by Beam and thrown over to Bradley by Stever for the second out of the inning, but it does put a runner in scoring position for the Boilermakers. But going back to this point, so what gives someone away as a lefty?
Well, I think
you said or did he give something away that he was a righty?
Well, he threw the ball back with his left hand, but it's tricky with umpires because they make so many of the calls with their right hand. You know, strike is always the right hand, and out is usually the right hand that they give the motion with. So you look at an umpire, you see him making his calls behind the plate, and you think, oh, he's using his right hand, must be a righty. And then he throws the ball back to the pitcher with the left hand, and it's jarring, you know?
Bouncer by Powers over towards third, bullet across the diamond by Barr, and that will bring us to the bottom of the 7th inning. After a one single, they are surrounded by all the other outs, and we head to the bottom of the 7th, still tied at 2. And we have our first pitching change of the day after 6 pretty strong innings by Tanner Andrews, giving up 6 hits but just 2 runs. He makes way for number 40, the right-handed sophomore out of St. Joseph, Illinois, Dalton Parker.
Parker having a solid season, 4.26 ERA in 5 appearances. He's gone 6 1/3 innings, so not a whole lot of body of work to work with. He's given up 3 hits, 4 runs, 3 of them have been earned, 4 strikeouts, and just 1 walk. So he's hoping to hold the Hoosiers at bay here in a tied 2-2 game. Big spot to trust the sophomore in here, especially given his limited experience, and hopefully he can justify the manager's faith.
Walker at the bottom of the order is up right now for Indiana, and despite limping through those last couple of innings, he still only gives up the 2 runs overall on the board, and it was a really solid outing for Andrews, who, like we said, maybe was a little bit nervous coming into the game. His last trip to Bar Kaufman in the Big Ten tournament was pretty disastrous, not even making it through the 1 inning. Today, he makes it through 6.
Yeah, it was a really solid outing, and I think especially given the fact that he loaded the bases a couple times in that 5th inning, the fact that he kind of lost control of his stuff in that inning and was walking some batters, his ability to pitch out of that, and given the way he kind of battled back and only gave up 1 run in that inning, in addition to the one that he'd given up 2 innings before, you know, to struggle the way he did and only give up 2 runs on the day, a really, really solid outing. Purdue, I think, will take that anytime they can get it.
And Andrews didn't get a ton of help at times from his field. There were 3 errors overall in the field, 1 on third, 1 on short, and 1 by his normally all-star catcher, one of the best catchers, if not the best in the Big Ten, Alessandro. Full count for Walker, payoff on the way, lofted into deep center. Go ahead and giving it chase is Hunter, who's able to turn around and settle under it for the out.
It's the second time we've seen Walker put a good swing on a ball. That one didn't earn him a hit, but he had that RBI fielder's choice to drive in Indiana's first run of the game, and that one a deep drive to center field. So for a guy kind of struggling at the plate a little bit this season, it's good to see him put some good swings on the ball, and you hope that eventually that'll translate into hits.
Up next, it's back to the top of the order for Kalitha, who takes strike 1. The 0-1 missing high. Count even at 1-1. Kalitha still looking for his first hit. Did get on, has been on base twice today. Once with a leadoff error over on third by Warden, and then a walk back in the 5th. The 2-1 delivery. Again, missing low and outside. 3 balls and 1 strike. See if Logan Kalitha can take advantage. Kalitha, a 6-foot junior out of Michigan City, Indiana, to Michigan City High School. Kalitha, a strong piece of hitting, and it ends up hitting the outfield grass. Nobody able to come up on it, so Hunter and Olin both trying, but didn't want to let it go past them, so they elect to give up the single, and Kalitha is on base for the 3rd time today.
Well, it's kind of been the story of the afternoon for Indiana, it's not how hard you hit it, it's where you hit it and when. You know, the old saying, hit it where they ain't, and he did that time kind of in the Bermuda Triangle between second base, center field, and right field. Didn't really get great contact on it, but able to kind of put it in that no man's land, gets him his first hit of the day, and now Matt Lloyd hitting second in the order. Indiana kind of got the heart of the batting order coming up with a chance to take the lead here.
One transfer followed by another. Kalitha, who transferred from junior college a year ago, as that one is fouled off by Lloyd. John A. Logan College, and then Lloyd, who the transfer from Iowa Western Community College, played well in the sweep against Butler, which Indiana really dominated, and they've been playing well in state. We mentioned they've made a point of emphasis with all these games coming up against teams in the state of Indiana. They want to prove that the team with Indiana across their chest is the best, as Lloyd puts it out towards deep left field and Beam settles under it for the second out of the inning. This is the 5th of 8 games in a row against a team in the state of Indiana. It was meant to be the 6th. They were supposed to be playing Ball State, but that did not happen earlier this week due to weather. Game against Indiana State and a 3-game sweep of Butler. Indiana looking for their 5th win in a row. Purdue looking for their 6th.
Indiana does not have a game in another state on its schedule until April 20th, when it will travel to Columbus to take on Ohio State. So it's a nice home cooking for the Hoosiers right now, even when they're away from Bart Kaufman Field. Not far to travel to get down to the Indiana States, the Ball States of their schedule, and certainly nice to have a rival Purdue at home where you kind of have some familiarity, the home crowd, but even so, when you're away from home, not too far to travel.
No, and certainly it feels good because early in the season, obviously, because it's still so cold and the weather's not good. Frankly, it's not that good in April, but it definitely wasn't good in February. And they get whipped around the country. They played tournaments down in South Carolina. They went to Florida. They play a 3-game series, or rather a 4-game series at San Diego. So they didn't play a home game until March 6th. Their opening day for the Hoosiers was February 16th. So about 2, maybe even 3 weeks, as a snap throw over towards first. Kalitha able to slide back in time. It's a 1-0 count on Luke Miller.
How about the throw from D'Alessandro from his knees? A laser that was on the money nearly caught Kalitha leaning. He's 5 of 9 on stolen base attempts this season. Back in with plenty of time on that pickoff, but still a rifle from D'Alessandro from behind the plate.
Miller, who doubled back in the 4th, sees that pitch sail and miss outside. 2 balls and no strikes to Miller, today's designated hitter in IU's lineup.
And 7 home runs on the season, the most on the team by a fairly wide margin. And as we see there, he likes to swing for the fences. He's got his home run cut at the ready on virtually every at bat, and hitting where he does in the order, that's kind of his role. He was hitting .275 coming into this game, not necessarily a high average guy, but still a really good all-around hitter.
Yeah, we saw when the bases were loaded back in the 6th inning, he was swinging for the fences virtually every time and got some good pieces of balls that kept going foul on him before eventually flying out.
Got a little bit of a Dansby Swanson look with the black hair flowing out the back of the helmet and kind of the thin beard. Of course, Atlanta Braves hometown hero, Dansby Swanson.
Miller strikes out again and has some harsh words for home plate umpire Dom Umlin, who points at him and I think he's telling him to keep that mouth a little bit more shut and put him in his place. Either way, Miller strikes out back-to-back times as we get another look at it here, and we head to the 8th inning. Score still knotted up at 2. We welcome you back. It's the bottom of the 8th inning and Purdue has made their second pitching change of the day. Dalton Parker comes out, and Ross Leonard comes in, the senior lefty out of Caitlin, Illinois, and he inherits one base runner from Parker. That's Logan Sowers, who has walked to lead off the inning. He's standing on first base, and his first opponent is going to be Ryan Fineman, hoping to have more luck with this pitcher. He's had no luck with the previous two, going 0 for 3.
Well, it'll be tough because Learned's had a fantastic season, a 1.64 ERA in 10 appearances. That amounts to 2 earned runs in 11 innings pitched. He's given up only 7 hits, 9 strikeouts to just 3 walks. Opponents are hitting 179 against him, so he has been tough, and particularly with the right-handed Fineman coming up, I think Purdue wants to bring in that lefty to face this part of the order.
Sowers on first. Fineman at the dish. Nobody out right now for Indiana in the bottom of the 8th as they try to break this 2-2 stalemate. It has been a nip and tuck game essentially the entire way. Nobody has led by more than 1 run so far today, and it has been tied at 2 for the majority of this game. It has been tied at 2 since the end of the 5th inning. The last 3 innings have all been scoreless. Some great pitching, and particularly on Indiana's side, there's been some good defensive plays. Purdue has had to make up for 3 errors in the field today, but still only 2 runs to show for it for the Hoosiers. Leonard sets up and delivers. Fineman shows bunt, bounces off of the plate.
And again, Indiana looks like they just want to move that runner along, get him into scoring position. Fineman, not necessarily known as a bunter, certainly not a guy that's going to bunt for hits very often, being a catcher, but hitting .342 on the season. I'm a little surprised that they're playing small ball with him and not letting him kind of swing away with no outs, but you know, if you advance the runner and there's only 1 out with a runner in scoring position, that's a pretty good situation for IU.
Fineman puts the bunt down the first base side, and it's a beauty. Fineman not able to get there in time, but he does his job, able to get Sowers on second. And that was a gorgeous-looking bunt right here.
It was, right down the first base line, and again, giving Purdue no choice but to go to first. The runner safely in at second without much of a problem. And now Matt Gorski up, who's had a solid day. And we mentioned his ability to put pressure on the defense with his base running earlier. We'll see if he can do it now with his bat.
So Gorski up at the plate. We've seen a couple of guys do a really good job with the small ball, the sacrifice bunts today. We saw both Cole Barr and Justin Walker do good jobs earlier in the game. It's not always about getting a hit. It's about having smart, competitive at-bats, and Indiana has done that in key positions today. 1-0 count on Matt Gorski. Really the only position Indiana has to be really frustrated about themselves in is they only get 1 run after loading up the bases there in the 6th, rather the 5th. The 1-0 toss for Gorski, a bouncing ball into the dirt. Sowers stays glued to second.
A good stop by D'Alessandro. That could have easily sent Sowers to third had that ball gotten past to the backstop, and that would be a really tough spot for Purdue with 1 out and a runner at third and Matt Gorski at the plate.
Southpaw Lerner curls the ball behind his back and sets up shop. .20 pitch, and that one, an off-speed one that got Gorski to look, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike.
Yeah, really nice pitch there by Lerner. You mentioned the off-speed, solid placement. Gorski, I think, was caught off guard and barely even flinched as that one went by. Lerner, a slow worker, giving Gorski a lot to think about as he waits.
2-1 delivery, another slow pitch, off speed, slow worker, slow delivery, but it's working the last couple of pitches right now for Lerner, and the count is even. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sowers, the man on second base, mentioned neither team today has a hit with a runner in scoring position. A combined 0 for 10, split it right down the middle, 0 for 5 for each squad. Gorski seeing if he can change that. Time called by Gorski as he comes out of the batter's box once more. Bottom of the 8th inning, the count is 2 balls and 2 strikes to Matt Gorski. Gorski, who's been on twice today, once with a walk, another time with an error over on short. See if he can get there with a hit this time around. Sowers, short lead off of second. Gorski checks the swing and will say that he did not go. First base umpire John Sapphire giving him the A-OK, and it's now a full count. The payoff. Chopped foul by Gorski, and so another long competitive at-bat on the way here. Just the second batter being faced so far for the man who just checked into the game, Ross Lerner, the third pitcher that Purdue has thrown out. Indiana has still just put out the one, and Jonathan Stever, he's gone 8 innings, given up just 2 runs, but you wonder if this break continues to be a long one, if they're willing to throw him out there for the 9th. He's done a complete game before. Second edition of the payoff on the way. Gorski lofts it up well high. Goes foul down the first base side. Settling under it is Mcgowan and makes the play, and Sowers elects to wisely stay on second base. 2 away. Indiana still has the go-ahead run standing on second.
Yeah, disappointing conclusion to that at-bat from Indiana's side. Like you said, a good competitive at-bat. Gorski able to really battle, foul off some good pitches, and work the count full, but I think he got a pitch that he really liked, just couldn't put quite the swing that he wanted on it. And now we're going to have a pinch hitter, Drew Ashley, come into the ball game for Indiana. He's going to hit in place of Scotty Bradley.
And Drew Ashley hitting .308 so far on the season. A freshman from nearby Chandler, Indiana. Went to Evansville Memorial High School, and now he's being put in a big spot. His last time out Friday against Butler, had a good job, 1 for 2. Also got on base via the walk, ended up scoring both times he was on base.
My guess would be that they're inserting him based on the fact that Lerner is a lefty rather than Andrews the righty. I think maybe just going with some matchup-based decisions.
See if it pays off for Lemonis as Ashley takes a big swing at it right away. It's high in the infield. Trying to settle under it is the third baseman, Warden, and he does it, and that will bring the 8th inning to a close. So we head to the final frame. It's still 2 runs apiece between Purdue and Indiana. Don't go anywhere. We got a fun finish on the way here on BTN Plus.
And new pitcher on the mound for the Hoosiers, number 13, Cal Kruger.
After 8 innings here in Bloomington, it is still 2 runs apiece, and the Hoosiers have elected to make their first pitching change of the day very late in the afternoon. After 8 excellent innings from Jonathan Stever, Cal Kruger looks to come in and give Indiana a chance to hopefully keep this game level at 2 for their sake, and a chance for a walk-off in the bottom part of the frame.
Yeah, Cal Kruger, we mentioned how good Lerner has been out of the bullpen for Purdue. Kruger has been just as good for Indiana, 6-1 record. This is now his 13th appearance. He's got a 1.56 ERA, 19 strikeouts to just 5 walks, only given up 3 earned runs in 17 1/3 innings. So he has been difficult to score on out of the bullpen, and also some defensive substitutions for Indiana as well. Matt Lloyd moves from second to first, and Jeremy Houston steps in to play second base. So Scotty Bradley out of the game for Indiana. All other positions remain the same, obviously aside from the new pitching change.
Off the top of the 9th, number 11, Alec Olin.
And can't say enough about how good Jonathan Stever was through 8 innings, giving up giving up 7 hits but just 2 runs. As Alec Olin now steps up to the plate, and he lofts one right into the glove of Walker over on short. 1 up and 1 down. Perfect start for Cal Kruger.
About as conveniently placed a line drive as you can get for Indiana. That one was right at Walker, who barely even had to move. We'll see it again. And just out of the frame there, he makes the grab. Maybe took 1 step to his left, but that was about it.
Now Evan Warden coming up next. Warden, who singled his last time up. Boilermakers looking to get something going in the top of the frame. The last run scored by either team was in the bottom of the 5th by Indiana. Gorski was able to come home. And then the last run scored by Purdue, the only runs scored, was a 2-run homer by Jackson Mcgowan. That was in the top of the 4th inning, so we have gone a long time without a run here in Bloomington. Swing and a miss there by Warden makes the count 0-2. Strong start for Kruger.
Great off-speed pitch. The bottom just dropped out of that one as Warden started his swing, and much too slow was the pitch for Warden. He was way out ahead of it.
The 0-2 for Warden. That sneaks a bit too far inside. Counts 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And you know, one thing I've noticed about Don Umland behind the plate, he'll change the side of his positioning based on what side of the plate the batter hits from. So for right-handed batters, he's more toward the left of the catcher. He's behind the catcher's left shoulder. For left-handed batters, he'll move behind the catcher's right shoulder. So he's changing his positioning, which obviously changes his vantage point on the plate. I wonder if that could play a part in kind of the perceived inconsistencies, particularly from Purdue's side with the strike zone today.
2-2 on the way, misses low, so after starting with back-to-back strikes, it's now a full count on Evan Warden. Kruger, the righty from Jasper, Indiana, delivers the payoff and delivers a walk to Evan Warden. He gets on base for the 2nd time today, singled back in the 7th, and now the go-ahead run for the Boilermakers stands on first base. Still work to do, but just 1 out, and Milo Beam stepping up to the plate.
We're going to have a substitution for Purdue here. We'll see who it is. Could be a pinch hitter, I would imagine.
And we see Wazakowski having a discussion with home plate umpire Umland. See who they bring out in place of Beam. Beam is 0 for 3 so far today, including a pair of strikeouts.
Looks like it's going to be Charlie Nasuti, the freshman outfielder. He's a right-handed batter. Initially, it was Milo Beam, a lefty, scheduled to come in and hit. So I think Purdue wants to go matchup based here and get in the right-handed hitter to face the right-handed pitcher.
So both teams going with changing up the lineup. We saw Drew Ashley come in and pinch hit for Indiana, wasn't able to get anything going, and now the freshman from Long Beach, California, a long way from home, looking to make something happen, Charlie Nasuti.
Boy, you talk about a big spot for a freshman to be in. He's got 42 at-bats on the season and 13 hits, so certainly has a decent deal of experience for a freshman. I think 310 on the year, but to not be in the starting lineup, to be asked to come off the bench, literally come off the bench cold in today's weather, is a tough thing to do. And with the game on the line like it is now, this is a tough spot and a big one for Nasuti.
The 0-1, and it's going to get away from Fineman, and that's a big miscue as Warden able to make his way to second base. It's tough to say if that will go down as a wild pitch or a passed ball, but either way, it's going to advance Warden over to second, and now Boilermakers have the go-ahead run put in scoring position.
Yeah, I would argue that should be a passed ball. I think it was certainly not in the strike zone, but probably a ball that Fineman should get to, or at least keep in front of him. No official ruling yet, and they did rule it a wild pitch, the official score. So, again, shows you, what do I know?
Now it's a 2 balls and 1 strike on Nasuti, who just came into the game, pinch hitting for Milo Bean. And that wild pitch, a very, very important one. As Purdue now has a runner in scoring position. Still neither team today with a hit with a runner in scoring position. Purdue 0 for 5, Indiana 0 for 7.
Now, wild pitch is big for a couple of reasons. Not only does it put the runner in scoring position for Purdue and obviously bring them closer to taking a lead, but it takes away the double play opportunity. With one out and a runner at first, you could hope Nasuti might ground to an infielder you could turn to from second to first. Now you take that away. At least the conventional double play is taken away. Maybe you hope for a line drive and you get the runner before he can tag up, but much more unlikely now.
2 balls and 2 strikes to Nasuti, who looks back for direction. Warden stands on second, got on via the walk, got on second via the wild pitch. Nasuti swings and gets a piece of that one, fouls it towards the backstop. 91-mile-per-hour pitch there from Kruger. And the wind picking up a little bit more, and even more so in the outfield now. See those flags whipping left to right now. That's the direction the wind's been going all day. We've seen a few deep balls land in the outfield grass, mostly towards right and right center field. Kruger look towards second, and he misses high, and it's a full count for Nasuti.
Kruger wanted that one. I think Fineman did a nice job trying to frame it, but couldn't quite bring it enough to the plate. And Kruger with a little bit of a glance back at home plate, wondering where that one was.
Nasuti in the 3-game series against Purdue was 3 for 6, including an RBI and a .625 on-base percentage. In the Boilermaker sweep, he was an integral part of that, but he goes down looking. He can't believe it. And Cal Kruger with a big strikeout there, his first of the day.
And now the double play being taken away isn't quite so consequential for Indiana, because a ground ball anywhere, they're able to get the out at first and get out of the inning rather than having to bank on a double play. And now we're going to have another pinch hitter. It's going to be Bryce Bonner, the sophomore righty, coming in for Tyler Powers. So righty for righty substitution here, which is interesting. And, you know, given the way that Powers has hit today and his relative inexperience on the season, had only played 18 games coming into this one.
Now batting pinch hitter number 22, Bryce
Obviously
Bonner.
another matchup-based decision here for Purdue.
So it's Bryce Bonner stepping into the batter's box. Evan Warden still stands on second base, but now 2 away. Bonner, sophomore, he's a backup catcher from Allen, Texas. Kruger gets the signal from Fineman, now looks back towards second. First pitch misses inside. The count is 1 ball and no strikes to Bonner. Bonner, who has just 5 hits so far on the season. 22 at-bats. The 1-0, and it's going to take a piece of the shoulder of Bonner. And so Kruger has come in so far and walked a batter, had a wild pitch that advanced another, and now that one hits the shoulder of Bryce Bonner. So not the hope, not the start they were hoping for from Cal Kruger, who they just want his job to be to keep the game level right now and give Indiana a chance for the walk-off.
He may have been trying to throw a breaking ball there that just forgot to break and stayed up a little bit. Maybe didn't quite get the grip or the snap that he wanted on that one, and it hung up. But I mean, obviously no malicious intent behind that one, but it does put Indiana in a slightly more difficult spot here. Even with 2 outs, you know, 2 runners on the bases puts a little bit more pressure on the pitcher. And
now for Purdue, a very fortunate turn of events. They get to go back to the top of the order to Harry Shipley, who's been strong today.
He has, and he started the game with that base hit. Eventually did not come around to score, but did get around to third. And we've seen his speed on the base pads. We've seen the pressure he can put on defenses, and you know, a guy who can really put a charge and catalyze your offense at the top of the order. And you know, for any team, with this situation, a runner in scoring position, game on the line, you want the top or the middle of your order up. And right now Purdue's got that, and they have a chance to really take advantage of this opportunity here. For Indiana, just looking for 1 or 2 pitches, put it in the right spot, hope that Purdue hits it at someone and get out of this inning.
And you feel like maybe at least one of these teams has to be due for a hit with a runner in scoring position. Teams are combined 0 for 13, and just with runners on base, the teams are 1 for 24. Purdue 1 for 13, Indiana 0 for 11. So while we're all tied up at 2, it's not as if both teams haven't had their chances. Indiana's left the bases loaded once, and Purdue has had plenty of opportunities with men on base.
Yeah, both teams have found ways, too, to get on base without getting hits, whether it be walks, hit by pitches, and it looks like they might intentionally walk Shipley. It looked like Fineman had his glove stuck out in the intentional walk posture. We'll see if that is indeed the game plan. But it looks like he's going to squat back down.
Harry Shipley, the leadoff man, who has 2 hits so far on the day, a pair of singles in the first and 1 in the 8th. He has Bonner over on first, Warden over on second. First pitch misses for ball 1.
And yet another substitution for Purdue. It's Nick Everts into pinch run for Bonner. So Bryce Bonner takes the ball off the shoulder but does not get to run the bases for his troubles. So it's going to be another pinch runner for Purdue.
Back-to-back balls thrown by Cal Kruger. Struggling since coming in to the game. Line drive to start things off. That was caught by shortstop Walker, but then a walk, a wild pitch, and a hit by pitch. A strikeout sandwiched in between there, but now very difficult spot here for Kruger. There are 2 outs on the board. Make it 3 balls and no strikes. A golden opportunity for the Purdue Boilermakers.
Indiana has a base open, but you'd really rather not put the runner on at this point. Obviously, every run is extremely precious at this point in the game, and given the way that offense has been so scarce, as he finally gets a strike in there, given how scarce offense has been, the difference between a 3-2 game and a potential 4-2 game is a massive one for Indiana here in the bottom, what will be the bottom of the 9th next inning.
3-1 count still in favor of the hitter. Kruger delivers, misses outside, and now the bases are loaded. An out at every base right now is the good news, but the bad news is, well, there's an out at every base, and a great scoring opportunity right now for Purdue. With the bases loaded, 2 outs, we saw a similar position for Indiana earlier. It was back in the 5th. They were able to tie up the game, get guys on via the walk, but were unable to score any more after that. Here is Purdue in essentially an identical scenario, except it is a much more important stretch of the game. Top 9, and the bases are jammed after 8 excellent innings from Jonathan Stever. Cal Kruger has come in and has walked 2 batters, hit another, and advanced another batter via a wild pitch.
And you've got to imagine a base hit scores 2 here. And with 2 outs, Indiana's going to keep their infield back because they don't have to come home with the ball. Skylar Hunter standing up towards the front of the batter's box right now. A lot of the times you'll see hitters kind of position that back foot on the very back line of the batter's box to give themselves slightly more time to read the pitch, but Hunter all the way up with that right foot on the front line.
Hunter, who's got a pair of singles today, takes a strike looking on the inside part of the zone. 1-1 for Hunter. He's 2 for 4. Grounds it out in the first, a single in the 4th, a single in the 6th, and went down looking back in the 8th. He's got a chance to give the Boilermakers the lead. That pitch misses inside this time around. It's 2 balls and 1 strike. Hunter, who already has 10 multi-hit games this season coming into the series, 11 now with this one. Looking to make it a 3-hit game. Hunter, who started this season red hot, has his average is .337 now. That's down from .413 about mid-March. He was really feeling it. Now see what he can do today, hitting .500 on the afternoon. Dancing over on the third base side is Warden. Now he retreats back. Kruger delivers the 2-2 and it's fouled off.
And a good job by Hunter there. We've talked about it before in different situations where with 2 strikes, anything that's close, I think you've got to be defensive. And Hunter didn't feel like he could really get around on that ball, but still able to spoil it and see another pitch in the at-bat.
Warden, the go-ahead run, stands on third. This one, a bouncing ball over towards short. Walker can't handle. 1 run scores. Walker still not able to get the ball. 2 runs score for Purdue. An error by Justin Walker proves to be extremely costly, and Purdue had 2 runs through the first 7 innings, gets 2 runs on the error here, just gets a little bit of contact on it, and Walker unable to handle it.
I think Walker got caught between hops there as he didn't get the ball at its highest point off the bounce, and on that turf the ball will bounce. He didn't feel it on the short hop either, and he kind of got it in between a tough angle, and given the pressure, the scenario, bases loaded with 2 outs, you've got to figure there was a mental component there as well, and 2 runs score as a result. That is a tough error to take for Indiana, and we saw the reaction from Walker, just a really tough situation to find yourself in. Everts
and Warden come home to score. It is 4-2 Purdue leads. And now Jackson Mcgowan, who started off the scoring for the Boilermakers earlier with a 2-run homer, comes on, and there's runners on first and second.
I don't think anyone realized how costly that mistake was more than Walker. And he glove over face after he threw the ball back into the pitcher. He realized how much that one play meant, and obviously Indiana in a hole here. They're going to have their work cut out for them in the bottom of the 9th. Still got to get this final out in the top.
Runners on first and second for Purdue. Now Indiana just trying to remain within striking distance, and they do just that, tipping off the bat of Mcgowan and into the glove of Fineman. But the Boilermakers get a gift from shortstop Justin Walker, an error that leads to 2 runs scored, and Purdue has a 2-run lead headed into the bottom of the 9th inning. It's the bottom of the 9th inning, and Purdue just scored 2 runs on no hits. A very costly error by Justin Walker breaks the 2-2 tie. Purdue now leads 4-2 as Indiana coming up to the plate. They're going to need to make something happen, starting with the bottom of their order in Cole Barr. But Indiana, who had been good defensively all game long, just sort of crumbled there in the 9th inning between Cal Kruger struggling out on the mound, some walks, a hit by pitch, a wild pitch, all compounded with a Justin Walker error. You can still see him frustrated there in the dugout as we just went by him on our screen.
Yeah, it looked like after loading the bases with Boilermakers, Indiana might get out of that inning unscathed and have a chance to walk off in the 9th. But a costly error by Walker is going to make that task a little bit harder. They need 3 runs to win it, 2 to tie. And Indiana not dead yet by any means. A 2-run lead that we've seen in this game, that can change in one swing of the bat. But the bottom of the order coming up with Barr and Walker, who will have a chance to redeem himself. But Indiana needs some offense early here in the 9th.
First pitch clips the outside part of the zone. It'll be Cole Barr, Justin Walker on deck, and then back to the leadoff man, Logan Kalitha. Neither Barr or Walker have been on base today. 1-1 on Cole Barr. A freshman who's been hanging out on the third base side today defensively. Purdue trying to do something they have never done, a win at Bart Kaufman Field. They are 0-8 all time, 0-6 against Indiana, and a pair of losses last year in the Big Ten tournament. A program on the rise, looking for a top 15 win. Earlier in the season, they got their first ranked win for the first time since 2012. And this would be another big-time win for Purdue, and they're 2 outs away now as first base umpire helps us out. John Sapphire calls Cole Barr out, and now 2 outs away are the Boilermakers.
Now batting shortstop, number 10, Justin Walker.
Purdue, who took 2 out of 3 off of Indiana last year in West Lafayette. It was as first pitch is in there for a strike on Justin Walker.
Well, a chance for redemption here for Walker. If he can get on base, he might be able to make up for his sins in the top of the ninth.
And Walker ropes it down the third base side. He's speeding past first, thinking about second, and he gets just short of halfway and then retreats back. So Justin Walker, the costly error in the top of the ninth, still work to do, but now the Indiana offense with a pulse.
And probably the smart decision to veer back to first there instead of trying to push it for second. Looked like he had designs of turning that into a double, but decided to slam on the brakes and go right back. But that's a big hit because it gives Indiana back. It puts Indiana back at the top of the order with just 1 out instead of 2, and now Logan Caletha with a little bit of breathing room, some room to work.
Caletha, who singled his last time up, off-speed pitch in there for strike 1.
You got to imagine Luke Miller's in that dugout. He's in the hole right now, but you've got to imagine he's just jonesing for an opportunity to get up there at the plate.
On deck right now, we have Matt Lloyd. Caletha with the 0-1, lofts it into left field, and it's going to drop onto the grass, and Indiana has the tying run over on first base, runners on first and second, and now in all likelihood we will see Luke Miller as well. So we have Matt Lloyd coming to the plate now for Indiana, and the Hoosiers are down, but certainly not out. Justin Walker gets the potential rally going with a single out to left, and Caletha does the same.
It looked like Oland might have lost that one perhaps in the lights. He looked like he didn't have a real strong beat on the ball and didn't break for it the way that maybe he could have and tried to make the play. So instead, Indiana does have 2 runners on.
Lloyd, who's 0 for 3, did get on earlier with the walk, takes a swing and a miss at this one.
And we mentioned Luke Miller and his spot in the order coming up, potentially having the chance to hit. It looks like he may not get that chance. It's Colby Stratton on deck for Indiana right now instead of Luke Miller.
Lloyd, the potential to change this game with 1 swing of the bat. 4 home runs so far on the season. Takes a big wave and a miss at that one. And back-to-back pitches clock at exactly 77 miles per hour. The off-speed stuff working for Lerner.
That seems to be Lerner's game here, as he doesn't necessarily mix speeds from high to low, but kind of keeps it in that middle range. Not going to overwhelm you with speed, but has a lot of movement and a lot of craft.
Has certainly not overpowered anybody so far, but the finesse has worked for Lerner. The 0-2 delivery, swing and a miss. A big one there. Matt Lloyd retreats back, and like you mentioned, it's going to be Colby Stratton in place of Luke Miller. Last chance for romance for Indiana. Runners on first and second, and Colby Stratton comes to the plate with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Stratton has played in 17 games this year, only has 10 at-bats though. Scored 1 run, 4 hits out of those 10 at-bats. Couple doubles, 1 RBI, and to keep Indiana alive, he may need to up that tally here in the bottom of the 9th.
Stratton taking the place of Luke Miller. It's Logan Caletha on first base, Justin Walker on second, And the potential game-winning run brings the bat over his shoulder at home plate. Colby Stratton in for the first time today.
And I'm curious what prompted Stratton's entrance into the game. Luke Miller had a decent game at the plate. Remember, had that big double to left field, and strangely out of the game now. I have to wonder if there's some sort of concern there that didn't allow him to stay in the game.
Stratton, the hometown kid, the Bloomington product, swing and a miss, makes it 0-2. Bloomington North High School product trying to make his hometown proud, but now Ross Lerner and the Boilermakers are one pitch away from their first ever win here at Bart Kaufman Field and ending Indiana's 9-game home winning streak. The 0-2, here it comes. Lerner thinks better of it. Wanted to keep a close eye on Justin Walker. Stratton settles in. The 0-2. Swing and a miss, but it's going to be tipped. Alessandro picks it up. The toss towards first. Ball game. The Purdue Boilermakers come out of the first game of this 3-game series with their first ever win at Bart Kaufman Field. It wasn't always pretty, but it was certainly a gritty win